episode of Politically Street, where we are Politically Street at all times. This is not a political endorsing podcast. We are here just for information purposes only, and to pretty much give out a positive energy and spotlight those in the community doing astounding things. So with that being said, I have my next guest, none other than Demetrius or DJ Meek, for those out there in the club scene in the world. So, Brother Meek, what's going on, man? Talk to me, brother. What you got going on, man?
Man, I'm feeling fantastic.
Yeah? Good deal, man. So, a little brief history, man. I met Demetrius on Instagram. I saw he had ran for state rep. And I was like, wow, man, you didn't see too many younger people out there making these moves like that, man. So I reached out to him to try to volunteer on his campaign. We never really kind of got it together, but I still watching from afar, man. So first of all, I commend you, man. It took a lot to get out there, and state rep at that, to go there. So how was that experience, man? What prompted you to, well, first of all, excuse me, where'd you grow up? Did you grow up in Houston? Where you grow up, man?
I actually grew up in New York City.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
I was born in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Lived in Brooklyn until I was about 8.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved up to the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
And, just got tired of the cold weather being up north. And so I ended up going to college in Nashville, Tennessee, Vanderbilt University.
Okay.
And, once I got to the South, I couldn't go back to that cold weather, man.
Gotcha. Okay. Did you have both parents in your home, or?
Until I was 14, yes.
Okay.
My parents were there in the home.
Mm-hmm.
They were working a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, my mom was working a lot. Dad, same thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been kind of independent as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Just me and my sister
Mm-hmm.
growing up. And I have a little brother now, but yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, your dad is a famous DJ.
Yeah, my dad's one of the first DJs.
Okay,
So,
wow.
I told you, I grew up in New York City, so,
Mm-hmm.
During the 70s, my dad was in the same circles as Cool Herc,
Mm-hmm.
all of these guys that were founders of hip hop.
Wow.
Before, hip hop was even a word,
Mm-hmm.
these people were throwing parties, out in the park.
Mm-hmm.
And, my dad would tell me about parties he was doing at 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
Going to Harlem and, they pay a quarter to get in the party.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that he learned from that. And then, everything that was going on in the Bronx at that time, the extreme poverty, death, drugs, destruction,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of birthed hip hop because, these kids needed a creative outlet.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And, my dad lived in an abandoned building
Mm-hmm.
for a period of time, during that era. And so these are the people who, created the art form.
Mm-hmm.
They needed that outlet, that release.
Wow, that's powerful. I didn't know that. I mean, I know you had mentioned it before when we was at an event and whatnot. So we'll come back to that in a second. So went to college, and then you.
Yeah, so, I went to college. I started out in college as a biomedical engineer.
Oh wow.
And,
so you smart.
a little something.
Yeah.
I read this book in 8th grade called Outbreak.
Mm.
And,
There's a movie out too.
became a movie.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what we're seeing right now is some of the things that, I've been concerned about from when I was 14 years old. So that kind of motivated me to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal was to become a virologist and work with viruses.
Wow.
And so, we'll get back to that later.
Okay, all right.
Sure. But, ended up at Vanderbilt University. After that first year, my grades weren't great.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled in, physics and calculus and chemistry. And,
Yeah.
I really love science, though. I love biology, but just my mind just didn't have that technical aspect that's needed to really excel in those kind of areas. So I ended up switching to economics, only because it sounded like I would make a lot of money once I graduated.
Right.
Degree in economics.
All right.
But I didn't really have a plan. Graduated from college. This was during a time where there weren't a whole lot of jobs available. It was after 9/11, and the country had kind of come to an economic standstill. And so you know, I ended up taking a job in Nashville locally with Dell Computer.
Okay.
Sales job.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, was working my normal, you know, 40-hour-a-week schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, then my manager came and whispered in my ear and said, hey, you want to keep working here? And I'm like, yeah, you know, duh, why not?
Right.
And she was like, well, you know, the bell, which is, you know, I was working in a call center. You know, the bell is basically the server that hands out phone calls to different sales reps.
Gotcha.
The bell opens at 6 a.m. and it closes at 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all she said. And she just looked at me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, then it clicked, like, oh, y'all want me to work overtime.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
She can't tell me that.
Yeah, of course, right.
So I started working bell to bell,
mm-hmm.
you know, and not only was it open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., but it was open on the weekends too.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working, you know, 6-7 days a week.
Wow.
You know, pretty much all day, every day.
Right.
And I started making a lot of money, but I got burnt out really quickly.
I imagine so.
And I really became disenchanted with, you know, a lot of the corporate America's policies. And so it was during this time where a couple of friends of mine that I went to undergrad with, we started talking about starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, one of my business partners, while we were in undergrad, he made clothes for all of the Greeks in Nashville.
Mm.
And, you know, I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha.
I didn't know that, man. You've been holding that for me, man.
Hey, I wasn't trying to keep it a secret.
Okay.
Shout out to all the Alphas, you know.
Yeah, you guys had an anniversary?
Yeah.
This month? Yeah. Uh-huh.
December 4th.
Mm-hmm.
December 4th.
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah. And so, you know, my frat brother was making, you know, paraphernalia
mm-hmm.
for pretty much all the Greeks in Nashville. He was really skilled at clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we're chatting, and, you know, he recognized that I had a good marketing mind
mm-hmm.
and PR mind. And he said, man, I'm thinking about starting this clothing line. And he said I was taking this black masculinity class
mm-hmm.
at Vanderbilt on African American history. And the topic of the dangerous Negro came up.
Mm.
And so, you know, the first black man documented
mm-hmm.
as a dangerous Negro was A. Philip Randolph back in 1919.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, A. Philip Randolph, he agitated a lot of the white politicians because he was a big advocate for labor unions.
Mm-hmm.
He started the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters.
Okay.
He actually conceived of the concept to host a march on Washington. This is where Dr. King got the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Was you know, first of all, he advocated for integrating the military. The military was segregated at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, white people didn't want to serve with black people.
Yeah,
it was a whole big deal.
Right.
You know, regardless of whether or not a bullet doesn't really discriminate against color, but you know,
right. When they hit you, right?
But you know, white supremacy is not logical.
Right.
So, in 1919, President Woodrow Wilson, probably one of our most racist presidents, Woodrow Wilson screened Birth of a Nation at the White House, which was the KKK film. He screened it at the White House.
Mm-hmm.
This was entertainment to him. But Woodrow Wilson called A. Philip Randolph the most dangerous Negro in America.
Gosh, I didn't. Wow.
You know, and this is the first time we heard the term used on record by the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after the March on Washington took place, Dr. King, who'd been stalked by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI,
mm-hmm.
they sent out a field reporter to the March on Washington, a guy by the name of William C. Sullivan,
mm-hmm.
to write up a report, a negative report on Dr. King, so that the government would have justification to harass him and to tap his phones and do whatever they needed to do to disrupt him.
Mm-hmm.
And in that report, William C. Sullivan wrote that Dr. King is the most dangerous Negro in America.
Wow.
Then we go to COINTELPRO, the Black Panther Party. You know, how the FBI, how they describe them,
mm-hmm.
the most dangerous Negroes in America.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like every time we had black leadership
mm-hmm.
that was able to unite black folks
mm-hmm.
and awaken our consciousness,
mm-hmm.
they were labeled dangerous Negroes, and they were strategically pushed to the fringes of society, if not eliminated altogether.
Right.
And so I said, man, that's dope.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna start a clothing line called Dangerous Negro.
Right. Okay. I like where it's going, man. Wow, okay.
Right, so that was in 2005. You know, I've been, you know, and I'll try to speed this up for you.
No, you good, you fine, you good, you got time.
So like I said, I've been getting burnt out at work. Corporate America was doing me wrong. You know, I was putting in all these hours, making them millions of dollars, and I was still being micromanaged. You know, if I came back, you know, came in the office a few minutes late or came back from lunch a few minutes late, you know, it was like I was being reprimanded like I was a child. So, you know, with Dangerous Negro, I was able to, you know, use my entrepreneurial mindset to not only awaken the consciousness of black folks, because everything that we did had a powerful and impactful message placed right on clothing. So I feel like clothing is a billboard.
I agree.
You know, unconscious billboard in many aspects. And so, you know, as that started to gain momentum, you know, obviously the press reached out to us because the name was just so controversial.
Right.
That people started contacting us thinking that we were some black radicals, and you know, and I'm sure we probably came up some, you know, originates with them. But it became popular, and I decided to leave my job at Dell and moved down to Houston in 2007. I was like, man, I could wear t-shirts in December.
Right. I got it right. You can.
Yeah, I could wear t-shirts in December. And I was like, Beyonce ain't the only fine woman out here. So that helped, you know. And that's how I ended up in Houston.
Gotcha.
But, you know, got here, hit the ground running, you know, met, you know, some of the local celebrities. Shortly after I arrived, Mike Jones, you know, did some wardrobe and, you know, one of his music videos, and I, you know, met the videographers in the hip hop industry that do work down here, and the artists and the DJs, and you know, became cool with them. And
that's what's up, man.
You know, our clothes ended up in stores out here in Houston. We were in 5 different stores. You know, one in the Galleria. A few of them closed down right after Hurricane Ike, but you know, we're doing pretty well. Got some national recognition. We were in stores nationwide after a little while, and then BET reached out to us and said, hey, you know, we want to run a little special on you. And they came down to Houston, we filmed a special over at End Zone Fashion in the 3rd Ward. And once that hit TV, I mean, you know, sales went up 300%.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that's marketing. It is what it is, yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And, you know, the mission was always black empowerment. So, and I promise I'm gonna wrap this up.
No, you good, man. I you know, I love these kind of stories because, like you say, you just never know what people go through. You know what I mean, to get to where they are now. So no, you
business partners that was in Indianapolis ran into a guy in a club named Rhyme Fest.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you may know Rhyme Fest because he is famously known for writing songs with Kanye West.
Okay.
He won a Grammy for writing Jesus Walks for Kanye West. He's won a couple Grammys actually.
Okay.
And you know, my business partner just happens to run into him. He's got the Dangerous Negro shirt on.
Oh wow.
And you know, Ron Fest is like, that's dope. I need that. You know. So Gary runs to the car. I got shirts in the car. You know, gives him a shirt. They exchange information. You know, Ron Fest needs more shirts, so we start sending him shirts. He's on tour with Kanye, sending him and Kanye shirts. And as we developed that friendship and relationship with him, you know, we realized that he was not satisfied with his record deal. You know, obviously a lot of record deals that you hear about now, you can see how crooked they can be, where they don't primarily benefit the artist, they benefit somebody else.
Right.
And so, you know, as we learned of these things, you know, we were like, man, it'd be dope if we could start our own record label, where we give the artists a fair deal, give the artists full creative control, and be independent of these record labels. And so we were able to get him out of his contract he was with J Records at the time, and we signed him to Dangerous Negro Entertainment.
Man, who are you, man? Anyway, okay, go ahead, keep going, man. This is an interesting story, man. Wow.
Yeah. So you know, that's how, you know, Dangerous Negro evolved from the t-shirt company to this entertainment company. And so, you know, we ended up putting out his second album, El Che, and on the cover you'll see his Dangerous Negro jacket, and you'll see my name listed on the back as an executive producer, along with my partner Sebastian and Jerry. You know, we put out a project with a Grammy Award-winning artist.
Wow.
Independently. And you know, it went on to do well. And as a result, Inc. magazine and Forbes and Black Enterprise reached out to me and did interviews, and you know, everybody's like, "Who the hell are these kids? How did y'all do this?"
Right.
And you can actually, if you Google how I did it, Inc. magazine is an article that comes up, and you know, kind of tell the story in there as well. You know, ended up doing a lot of public speaking as a result of that. Different universities started reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, can you come talk to our students about entrepreneurship and you know how you did what you did and how you got to where you are?" And I loved it. You know, I got to tour pretty much the whole country, coast to coast, speaking at different colleges about entrepreneurship and the value of it specifically for Black folks. You know, to be independent of corporate America, and always, even while you're in corporate America, using your entrepreneurial mindset to figure out what you can gain from that, what you can learn, so that you can apply it to what you're actually really passionate about. And so, you know, did that for a number of years, you know, until I had my son, and it wasn't as easy to, you know, just get out and be on the road as much. So, you know, let me see. I'm almost up to current day. Yeah, my son is 9 now.
Okay.
So now, you know, I own a company called the Black Travel Club.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. And you know, that once again, it comes from the root of Black empowerment. I ended up, after public speaking, working in the travel industry for a company here in Houston, in a call center again. You know, shout out to all the call center workers.
Yeah, man, you gotta have respect for them, man. Hey, man, that's not an easy job, man.
It's not an easy job. It's very frustrating, and you know, you don't get treated well a lot by not only the clients on the phone, but by the staff. You know, because you're pretty much just seen as expendable and as a number. So that's very frustrating. You know, so one of the things that I learned while I was there, though, was that there were all these wonderful opportunities for people to go around the world and travel, but do it with an expert that can, you know, not only
trying to just navigate through wherever you go to.
Right.
Okay.
You know, because it's easy to just go, you know, book a trip somewhere and just say, oh, I want to go to, you know, wherever. But you know, you've never been there before. You don't know where the best restaurants are.
Man, yeah, it's
you know.
Yeah, it can be just with that variable in itself can deter you from going.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, but go ahead, let me cut you off. Go ahead.
But yeah. Well, you know, you miss out on things when you just, you know, just show up. You know, you don't know where the hidden gems in the city are. You know, the stuff that you can't find on the internet. And so, you know, I realized white folks been doing this for a long time. You know, this is they're called escorted tours.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then you also have what's considered independent tours, where you have maybe a tour guide for a day or two, but then you kind of do your own thing independently.
Is that kind of like what Ashford Quasi does, would take people to Egypt, or say independent? Okay, gotcha.
Right. Yeah, that would be an escorted tour.
Gotcha.
You know, you have a guide. You have your transportation already arranged for you. Your food is already set up. Your hotel. You know, so pay somebody, let them figure that out, and then you go and enjoy yourself. It's low stress.
Right.
And I realized that 95% of my clients were white.
Wow.
Black people just were not doing this.
Yeah.
We weren't doing it because we've never been marketed to in this space. And I thought that was tragic. You know, I got tired after 4 years of working with clientele that I felt were very entitled. You know, they want to, you know, call and harass you, and you got to be their brains and do all their thinking for them. And I was like, you know what? I want to be able to pick my clients. And again, I looked at Black folks, and I said, people like me need to be taking advantage of these opportunities and being catered to and staying at the nicest hotels and eating good food and exploring different places in the world. Because we can see at home here in America, they don't really care about us that much anyway.
Mike said it best, didn't he?
You got to get outside the bubble.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You have to explore outside the bubble. And so I said, I want to give people that look like me the opportunity to go outside the bubble and do it safely, and also to enjoy luxury when they can, to learn, to connect with other black folks across the black diaspora and other places. And so I started the Black Travel Club.
Let me ask you this question. It's funny, but it's not. So when I was in Tanzania, how do you want to pronounce it? Everybody looked like me, or different shades of brown, right? And so it was like when you saw a person, a Caucasian person, a white person, it was like they were the minority. Like, man, what are they doing here? You know what I mean? So that,
right.
And did you get that feel when you were in certain places that that like Africa, Ethiopia, whatever it is?
Yeah, man. And that's one of my favorite places that I've been. Was Tanzania. It's beautiful, man. Started out in Arusha and got out to Ngorongoro Crater. I don't know if you got a chance to.
I didn't get that. We went to Kilimanjaro, man. We went base. We didn't get a chance to go up because it was, I think it was real cold there for some reason, but we didn't go up. I got to Kilimanjaro, yeah. Yeah,
well, I flew into Kilimanjaro, so I got to see it.
Oh wow.
But I didn't climb it. But I love Africa. Tanzania was gorgeous. I would definitely like to go back. I want to go back to Zanzibar actually this time.
Yeah, we did Zanzibar, man. We did the whole Spice tour, all that, man. It was nice, man. So you got to take a ferry from Tanzania to Zanzibar.
Right.
So going there was fine, but on the way back, it was going against the current.
It's tough.
Man. Oh man.
It's tough.
People had bags everywhere. I mean, I think this I didn't I didn't get sick, but yeah, man. But I love Zanzibar. Zanzibar was nice, man. It really was. Yeah.
That's what's up, man. I'm trying to get out there when I can. But that brings me to where we are present day. I think a lot of what we've been focused on as black folks, in particular, just even on a political tip, right, is we feel that we need our own space carved out somewhere in America where we can be autonomous. I'm of the belief, especially now looking at the craziness that we're seeing, that we need to be connecting outside the bubble with black folks all over the planet.
Wow, it's powerful. Yeah.
We need to have power that transcends physical destination. If you look at other powerful ethnic groups around the world, it doesn't matter. They don't have to be concentrated in one place to have economic power wherever they are.
Right.
And I'm sure everybody here, if you sit down and think about it, think about those people who tend to have power and those ethnicities that do, they're not located in one place.
That's true.
They're globally connected. And so, that's what's vital to me with the Black Travel Club.
Gotcha. Wow, that's powerful. Because I just saw you guys were somewhere last year. I want to say you were in Cali. And I saw a friend of mine was with you, one of my Instagram friends. She has a thing named Kate Harris and whatnot. But yeah, man, so I saw her, and then I think, I want to say my good friend, Miss Love, what's her, I see her face, man, Rashida Joy. I think she was with y'all too, man. I was like, man, it's a small world, man, so yeah.
Well, Rashida actually, she didn't actually come on the trip, but she's out in LA, she's out in Cali too.
Yeah. Shout out to Rashida, man. Yeah,
shout out to Rashida, man. I love everything that she does.
Yeah.
She's really trying to empower folks on the diet tip, which realistically is a huge political issue that we're not discussing. It's probably our most critical political issue that gets swept under the rug because people don't realize the significance of it. And I can go into that too if you want to. I don't know which direction you want to go.
It's actually, I'm glad you said that because I have, you familiar with Pop Darby?
Yeah.
I had Pop on here last Wednesday, and we talked about soul food vegan and how that it was in 2 different spots before, but now it's in 3rd Ward off Emancipation. So they tried different areas. He said he basically have to almost not trick people, but he brings something to them, they eat it, and they say, I like this. What is this? And he said, well, it's vegan. Oh, I knew it tastes different, but he was mentioning how how the certain foods we intake, it still affects our minds as well, how we think and things like that. But no, I mean, I know that you're a vegan as well. I'm getting there, man. Just pray for me. I still eat seafood, but everything else I just kind of take out. But I don't eat seafood all the time. But tell me what was your transition and how's it going for you now?
Well, you know, I've been vegan 3 years now, and you know, I've learned so much just in the past 3 years. I didn't go vegan for any political purposes or, you know, any environmental purposes initially. You know, I was at this young lady's crib that, you know, I was seeing at the time, and you know, I had a little herbal remedy that I partook in. And so, you know, my mind
self-medication. I got it.
So my mind was in an elevated state.
Check, okay.
And I sat down on her couch, and I was on Instagram, and I'm scrolling through Instagram, and I saw somebody had posted, it was a plate of pig's feet with some chicken feet on top. So pig's feet always triggered me from when I was a little kid.
Right.
Even, you know, my mom ate it, people in my family.
Right.
And I'd be like, how could you eat that? It looks like feet. Like, it don't look right.
Right.
But I couldn't do the pig's feet or the chitlins or the chicken feet. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, me either.
But I'm looking at this, and you know, they had hot sauce all over it, and they the caption was like, I'm about to tear this up.
Yeah.
So I'm in my mind like, what is wrong with people? Why would you do this? And then I caught myself, and I was like, something told me, it was like, hey, don't judge these people, because you eat other parts of the animal, it ain't no better. You know, if you eating the ribs of an animal, or the leg, or the wing, or, you know, half the time you eat steak, you eat the butt of an animal.
Right, wow.
Straight up.
Right.
So I was like, man, I can't judge these folks. I said, I'm eating it too. So I said, man, you know what? Tomorrow I'm just not going to eat no animals, man, because I'm kind of spooked right now. You know, and I don't know where that's going to lead to. But I was like, you know, I'll probably still eat cheese and ice cream, and I like that stuff. But then something else, you know, my elevated state of mind at the time was like, hey man, what if you were a cow? I said, and I was like, what do you mean, what if I was a cow? And I was like, well, if you were a cow and your whole life consisted of you being on this big metal wheel, shoulder to shoulder, next to a bunch of other cows, and from sun up to sundown, you had a machine hooked to your nipples, pulling on your nipples all day from sun up to sundown.
Wow.
I mean, that would be hell on earth.
Right. It's torture, man.
It's torture. Yeah, your whole life is just consists of that. And not only that, but in order to keep you producing milk, you are physically raped by a human being, inseminated, right? So that you stay pregnant. Then when the baby comes out, if it's a male baby, they kill it on the first day, or they break his legs and they put it in a box and it becomes veal after a few months. Or if it's a female offspring, they're going to be subject to the same thing that you've been doing for your whole life. And I said, man, that's hell on earth, man.
It is. That's wow. I didn't think about it like that, man. Wow.
It's literally torture, you know.
And then too, so if they are milking the cow and the cow's going through this process physically, mentally, everything that they're going through is coming through whatever is coming out of them because it's part of DNA.
Well, yeah, those stress hormones,
right?
So that sadness, that depression, and we look at America right now, depression's at an all-time high. You know, we have all of these challenges that people are dealing with, you know, in terms of depression, anxiety, and just so much mental illness that we're dealing with. And now you're looking at these animals that have been tortured their whole life. They're releasing these stress hormones, right? And their depression and their hormones, and you're consuming it.
Right. So wow.
You're putting that directly into your body.
Right.
So yeah, it does have an effect on your mental health. You know, on top of the fact that it doesn't benefit you physically to consume it, because any nutrients that you're gaining from the animal, you can gain directly from the same thing that the animal eats, which is plants.
Plants, right.
So all you're really doing is putting a middleman between you and your nutrients. And not only that, but the middleman is going to give you saturated fat and cholesterol on top of that. It's not very efficient. And a lot of those things, the nutritional aspect of it, I learned afterwards. After I had to figure out, I didn't have a plan when I went vegan. I didn't have meals prepped or none of that. You know, I just was just like,
that's my challenge right now as far as like the meal prepping, because like, I don't really cook. I mean, I can cook the heck out some beans, rice, and cornbread. You know what I mean? But you're gonna eat that so much, you know what I mean? And so, but I think so. This is what I want to ask you, because like people that are watching and listening, what can they do? Because like we don't have these type of resources in our communities. We have food deserts, you know what I mean? And so Third Ward, man, I love coming out there, but I don't want to keep y'all from making something Third Ward, man. You know what I mean? So what can a person do that say, you know what, I heard this interview, I want to go vegan. What's the first steps should they do as far as like preparing meals, and how do they transition in a sense?
first step, if you want to go vegan, get rid of all your non-vegan food in your house.
Gotcha.
Because you don't even want to tempt yourself with it, because you're going to find an excuse to eat it.
Right.
For some reason, right? So just get rid of it. And, you know, like I said, a lot of people, I hear the argument, you know, I don't have enough money to go vegan. I can't shop at Whole Foods. It's an excuse, man. It's an illusion. And this is why it's an illusion. The most expensive thing that people can, you know, purchase when they go to the grocery store is meat. That's the most expensive thing in your cart.
Right.
Is the chicken wings and, you know, the beef and all of that stuff. Even if you eat fish, the salmon.
Yeah,
you know,
salmon is kind of expensive. Man.
Yeah, you know, that's the most expensive thing in your cart.
Right, that's true.
You eliminate that. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people. There are communities that don't have, you know, access to fresh groceries. So I get that. You know, there's a lot of fast food that's in the community, and people rely on that for nourishment. But you know, I will say this: if you take out of your mind that the animal is an option, you will find ways. You will be fine.
Right.
I'm still here after 3 years. I haven't wasted away.
Right.
You know, my blood pressure is the best that it's ever been. Cholesterol is great. You know, my body fat's the best it's ever been. So you will find ways. You know, in Ireland, those people lived on potatoes. They had a famine. They lived on potatoes for years.
Wow.
So you can survive on the bare necessities. If you got to eat potatoes, you can do it.
So it's not too many starches then. It won't hurt you then, huh?
So we have to relearn nutrition in and of itself, because America, we've been tricked, and this is where it gets political.
The FDA.
Well, the FDA, I mean, from the bottom up, we've been tricked into believing that protein is the most important thing that you have to have in your diet.
Okay.
You know, and the more protein you have, protein is going to help you lose weight. It's going to help you gain weight. It's not going to do none of that, because your body, your brain runs on glucose, which is a carbohydrate. It's a sugar.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha.
So everything that you put into your body's trying to figure out how to turn it into sugar. So how would it benefit you to put primarily protein and fat into your body, which is what meat is? Because your body finds it very difficult to turn that actually into sugar.
Wow.
So carbohydrates, natural carbohydrates and starches, are what your body prioritizes. Those are the easiest things that it can turn into glucose to operate your brain. So it's a myth that carbs are going to get you fat. Because people say this all the time, well, you just got to start eating carbs. The carbs are going to make you fat. What's the biological mechanism that converts carbohydrates to fat? There is none. Right,
I can't think of it, yeah, wow.
It's an illusion. But the lies told so many times that people start to believe it.
That's true, yeah.
And they spread these myths. But where it becomes political, like I said, is, you know, prior to the 1940s, agricultural mass production of animals did not exist.
Okay.
So we had a couple of white-owned companies who saw an opportunity, Tyson Foods, Smithfield Farms, that said, how can we take these living things and turn them into products just like, you know, like Henry Ford does with his cars.
Right.
We need an assembly line. We need a way to, you know, they figured out all the math. How much do we need to feed them so they get to this size, and then what day do we need to, you know, to cull these animals?
Right.
And so they brought it down to math and science, and they started treating these things as if they were rocks or trees or you know, things that, you know, didn't have a soul. And so as we started to, because you can. One of the things I love about it, and I know you're from Acres Homes, right? One of the things I love is if you talk to people in the community, the Acres Home community, about what they ate growing up. If you find an elderly member of the Acres Home community, they will all tell you that we ate vegetables 6 days a week and we had meat on Sunday.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that was it.
That was it. Yeah, yeah.
Because it was not plentiful. You know, it was too expensive for most people to afford. And we just did not have the means in the United States for everybody to have meat 7 days a week.
Right.
So people ate vegetables, right? But in the 1940s and beyond, as we started to begin to figure out how to mass produce, then we started to genetically engineer. You know, then we started injecting these animals with all kind of antibiotics and vaccines in order to keep them alive. Because when you put billions of animals in close proximity, guess what's going to happen? They get sick.
Disease,
all kind of diseases that spread to human beings. Which is in 2019 when we had coronavirus and they tried to blame it on bats. Bats and pangolins. That doesn't make sense because we grow trillions of animals annually, specifically to feed to people as food, whereas they don't need to eat this. Right.
Man, we can, man, this is, I wasn't expecting this. Okay, so it's so many layers to what you're saying that we can go into a whole 5-hour discussion, man. But okay, so you mentioned Acres Home, and it's you know, predominantly black community, and it's starting to change now, and it is what it is. It's being gentrified. You know what I mean? And so, with that being said, how can because you mentioned about the empowerment of black people, and most of our empowerment is based, it has a number to it, it's value to money, right? How can Acres Home, 5th Ward, 3rd Ward, places where you're from the Bronx, how can we all figure out ways of channeling our money through each other to build each other up?
Yeah, you know, the good thing that I've seen result from the past 4 years of the madness that we've been dealing with is black people realizing how much we need to economically empower each other.
Okay.
And so I see a lot more people now, before they purchase something, they say, is there a black company I can get this from? So we definitely have to do that more. We have to support our own communities. And we have to be able to identify white supremacy where it is and not be afraid to challenge it.
Wow.
So, you know, when it comes to gentrification, man, you know, it's the same thing. It's like, you know, first some people are like, man, some cheap real estate over here. It's not too far from downtown. I don't have to sit in traffic, man.
Right,
so,
right.
I mean, yeah, I might hear some gunshots, but, you know.
That's only a matter of time before.
Skepticism is the first step.
Okay.
The next step that follows skepticism is investigation. So, unfortunately, I see a lot of people stopping at the step of skepticism and not going further in their investigation.
Right.
So, yes, we need to be investigating everything that we put into our bodies and everything that the government tells us to put into our bodies. Because the government has lied to us, and they continue to lie to us about food and nutrition. If I'm aware of the damaging effects that animal products have on my body, the government, they've known this for years.
Yeah.
Just like they knew in the 1950s that cigarettes cause cancer.
Right.
Up until the 1980s, you could be a school teacher and smoke a cigarette in a
classroom.
In a classroom full of kids. And they knew for 30 years that it caused cancer.
Right.
So the government makes lots of mistakes, and they do it in the interest of corporations who benefit economically from your sickness and your disease and your despair. They're going to profit off of that.
Right.
So I get why people are skeptical, and you should be skeptical, but then you have to investigate after that skepticism. I mean,
it's hard to investigate now because we don't have those, I forget what you call it, when you go into the library and you pick out the card, what do they call it? You pull it out and you can kind of reference check. What I forget what you call that thing, man?
Card catalog.
That's it, yeah, the card catalog. Right. So how can we investigate that kind of stuff now when most all the information is being filtered by outside sources not favorable to us?
Well, you know, you have to be able to, first of all, discern what's valid information and what's not. The only way you can decide whether something is scientifically valid and mathematically valid is if you observe something that's been conducted in a controlled study, that's been randomized, and that's been conducted on millions of people, you know, or thousands of people, because there are a lot of fake studies out there. You know, the meat industry puts out studies that say you can survive on a diet of bacon and butter.
Right.
They built the whole keto diet around that.
Right.
That millions of people believe in.
Wow.
That, oh, if I just eliminate carbs from my diet, I can eat bacon and butter and lose weight. And no, unsustainable, right? False information.
Right.
So you have to look at, has there been a control group versus, you know, the group that was either, you know, given this vaccine or whatever it is that we're discussing, right? Was it randomized? You know, and how many people participated? Those are the most important things, and that's the only way conclusively you can say, well, this is what happens to the average person that does this.
Right.
And so, you know, once you do that, once you do your further investigation and look at those details, you know, the truth becomes more clear.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense, man. You know, like I said, we can really go on a lot with that, man. Like I say, it's just so, because it's relevant, it's happening now, you know. But I want to end this interview with this, man. We saw that a group of people kind of band together, went in and stormed the Capitol.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think that black people should get that extreme, you know, but and what you're saying from your story from conception to now, you know what I'm saying, I just didn't know, you know what I mean? So, but besides our economic power, what can we do to push us forward to be so extreme to where it shakes the whole axis of what this whole white supremacy quote unquote thing is and whatnot?
Well, you know, something has to be said about the fact that these people, you know, had the tenacity to do what they did on January 6th, you know, and honestly, the first thing I thought of was like, man, black people should have did that a long time ago for reparations.
Right.
You know, all we had to do was walk through the front door.
Right.
You know, but we know the circumstances would have been different. They would have had tanks and probably, you know, drop bombs. Yeah. So we know circumstances would have been different, you know, because of the skin color involved. But, you know, now we have a necessity to set off that economic bomb. You know, so where you can spend money with people that look like us, you need to. And I think a lot of what we saw just in the past year with the Black Lives Matter protests and, you know, George Floyd's death is that corporations now, because they value black dollars so much, they start switching stuff up. They were like, oh man, wait a minute. We got to take Aunt Jemima off the box now.
Right. We got to change the name to Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah, you know, we don't want these people to start boycotting and spending their dollars somewhere else.
Right.
So you started to see these white-owned corporations adjust, and what can we do? Who do we need to hire for our diversity and inclusion team to, you know, keep black people happy because we need their money. And so we as black people have to identify how desperate they are to keep our business. We got to start our own businesses. We got to support our own businesses. We got to spend money with our own businesses because that economic bomb is going to be bigger than anything else that we can do physically.
I agree. That's kind of what Pop and I talked about. He mentioned Claude Anderson's book, Power Economics. And I'm still, so last year I was in between 6 books at one time. That's just how I read. I like to get here, put it back, and just kind of go through all that. That's my brain works and whatnot, man. So, but, man, like I said, we can talk forever, man. Like I say,
hey, man, I'm happy to come back anytime.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to come back for part 2, man, because I didn't even talk about, you know, the whole scene of the social scene of Houston, the clubs and things like that, doing keto gentry and all that kind of stuff, man. Cause that's still all money, you know what I mean, that we can you know, use to help push our community forward, man. So before we leave, give your Instagram hook, your Facebook, anything that they can find you at, man. I want a shirt too, man, you know.
Hey, Dangerous Negro still operating, man.
Okay, yeah.
DangerousNegro.com. It's on Instagram, @DangerousNegro.
Okay.
My personal Instagram page is Vote for Meek. You can also follow the Black Travel Club on Instagram, which is where we get the majority of our business is at The Black Travel Club. So it's The Black Travel Club. We do have a few trips coming up later on in the year.
Mhm.
You know, hopefully as you know, COVID subsides a little bit. But people are going to need that either a vaccine, or you're going to have a negative COVID test in order to travel after January 26th. So now you got to make a decision. You got to do the research now.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah, you got to do the research. You know, so that's what it is, man.
Okay, that's what's up, man. So hey, I don't mean to cut it short, man, but I say we just I gotta have Demetrius back, man. We can talk more into everything that's going on, man. So, like I say, peace and blessings. This Politically Street. I see y'all next time. Peace.
Peace out.
All right.
I want to give a shout out to Demetrius, man. That's one of the coldest names you can have. Because we out here in these streets, but these politics is trickling down, so it's all intertwined, man. So we got to figure out how to work it the way we work. So shout out to Demetrius.